Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatees video. And in this one, I'm going to be constructing a tier list of what I would consider the most difficult and easiest healers to play in Shadowlands itself. This data, of course, has been gathered from the beta, not for the pre-patch as with essences and Azurite traits. The difficulty of these healers is a lot different in the pre-patch, which is gone in a week, comparatively to the difficulty that you're going to find them at max level in Shadowlands. So take that into account when I'm ranking them. It's not based on the pre-patch. And the main purpose of this tier list is to sort of help you decide on which type of gameplay you want. So are you a player who's looking for a healer that has a deep skill pool for you to dig really deep down into throughout the expansion and never get bored? Or are you more or less looking for a healer that's going to provide some, instant wins? I say free wins. Nothing's a free win in this game, but its skill cap isn't as deep, so you can more or less get into the meat and potatoes and just start healing your buddies and having a good time, as opposed to that deep skill pool. And that's the main purpose of constructing this tier list. I'm going to cover rotation, mechanics, management, crowd control, everything that has to do with them in an attempt to help you pick one that is best suited for your gameplay, and also to determine, to a lot of people's salty tears, which one is the easiest and which one is the hardest. And it is, of course, based on my opinion, but as somebody who has studied and analyzed World of Warcraft for a very long time, and I commentate over professional matches, and I basically have dedicated significant portion of my life to the game, I would like to think that my opinion is somewhat valuable, but I am, of course, open to your opinions as well. If you want to leave a comment down below disagreeing with me or agreeing with me. So let's start off the tier list here. We've got Disciplined Priest. This has kind of been the class that I've been recommending as a healer to anybody looking for a deep skill pool. This is a healer that has almost everything available to it. It has spammable crowd control with mind control, so you can always look for opportunities to mind control a target at low health, or just mind control a target into a bad position, or just mind control to stop them from playing their character. You lack mobility, so your positioning in the battle matters a lot. You can't just immediately recover from moving into a bad position, so it's not really noob friendly in that regard. It's also, in my opinion, not a healer that can kind of just always sit back and chill. You're going to want to be getting into the action, getting aggressive a little bit, so you have to stance between defense and offense very frequently, and you need to manage your mana very well using Atonement, which is doing damage and healing by doing that damage with Disciplined Priest. So that already sounded like a lot, I'm sure, for anybody that was listening thinking, yeah, that's over my head. Not for me. This is why I think that Disciplined Priest is a healer that's not really great if you're new to healing, but if you're interested in a different style of healing, the Atonement damage healing, and this deep skill pool, arguably one of the highest, I would say, available in the game for a healer, then Disciplined Priest is going to be the one that you want to go for. In PvP, you have honor talents that make your Radiance instant cast, which does make it a little bit more noob friendly, but generally speaking, these aren't the competitive talents you want to go for. I consider these sort of like training wheel talents, but it does have the option to build itself for a training wheel mode version of the Disciplined Priest. If you're someone who's thinking, man, I really want to play that, it sounds like fun, but it's also really hard, you do have the option to play that training wheel version of it, and then maybe after you've got comfortable with it, graduate out into the deep skill pool that's available to it. In my mind, Disciplined Priest is one of the hardest healers in the game. I'm putting it in here on S tier, which means it is the most difficult, but I don't think, if you're looking for that type of gameplay, I don't think you'll go wrong with it, and I think you will have a great time for probably the entire expansion. Even when they're bad, which they aren't at the moment, but even when they're bad, you kind of feel like the hipster, like you're playing out of your mind, doing all these cool plays. It's a really good healer. It's a lot of fun as well. Holy Paladin, this is a healer that in the pre-patch is really good with Avenging Crusader and with Vision of Perfection, providing that Avenging Crusader and damage, but all of that Battle for Azeroth power is gone. And with some of the changes made to Holy Paladin, You're going to find managing your mana a lot more difficult, as you're going to need to use Flash of Light a lot more. Holy Light is a very slow heal, as opposed to providing Infusion of Light, making it a fast Holy Light, which made Holy Paladin easier to play. It's now harder to play because of that slow casted heal, or you run the risk of running yourself out of mana. I personally like them adding gameplay and healer choice rather than Holy Paladins only spamming Holy Light and Resto Shamans only spamming Healing Surge and only spamming one of their heals. I like it that they've diversified the heals into different types, where Flash is a very fast and efficient heal, Holy Light's a slow, efficient heal. I preferred that, but if you're someone who only played the game when Holy Light was all you pressed and it felt really good because it healed everybody to full and did a ton of things all at once in combination with Honor Talents, it's going to feel really hard to readjust to that, or very difficult to readjust to that. And you're not going to have Vision of Perfection to provide you those Avenging Wraths or Avenging Crusaders. So it's going to be much harder to heal. My suggestion, if you are really dead set on the Paladin moving forward into Shadowlands, is to get a mage, buddy up with mages. If you do this, it's going to alleviate the fact that you're susceptible to being interrupted. I would recommend avoiding playing with classes that don't cast. So things like Warrior Death Knight together in PvP. Classes that don't cast are going to be really tough to play with, because you're going to be casting very slowly or spending a lot of mana or just dying as a result of doing that. So buddy up with a mage if you want to make it a little bit easier. It's going to be really hard to win, but not really mechanically challenging. I would not say that Holy Paladin is nearly as mechanically challenging as Discipline Priest. Just managing getting damage out for atonement, it's not there. And again, this is a tier list for how difficult it is to play, not how hard it is to play, because it currently isn't balanced to be strong, if that makes sense. So for me, Holy Paladin is an all right healer to pick up if you're just beginning. You have very powerful cooldowns like Avenging Wrath, Blessing of Protection, Blessing of Sacrifice. These are abilities that will effectively make you invulnerable, and it's kind of hard to misplay invulnerability. The downside is not choosing the correct moment to go invulnerable. But if you're starting out and you're worried about getting into arena and falling over, having powerful cooldowns like that to rely on, like, all right, I'm just going to start the fight with Avenging Wrath. I want to play out for a couple of seconds just to see what the game is like, because I've never played arena before. Holy Paladin will allow you to do that. So in my mind, I don't think Holy Paladin is very mechanically demanding. Positionally, you have a lot more mobility with Blessing of Freedom and Cavalier or Divine Steed, as opposed to the Discipline Priest. So you move more, your crowd control is instant, your healing is susceptible to being interrupted, but you can alleviate that by playing with classes like mages or caster classes, and you have very powerful cooldowns to recover and basically make yourself invulnerable. So I think that it is still a good healer to pick up in terms of ease of access, and its skill pool I don't think is as far as Disc. For me, Holy Paladin, I would say, is about B. Am I going to regret putting it on B? This is what I'm worried about. I think I'm not going to regret putting it on B. Just middle. If tuned to be powerful, it's still middle in terms of ease of access to pick up and start going on it. Just make sure that you're playing with mages if you're interested in reducing the difficulty of it. Or if you're a masochist, play with some melee DPS. But it's really not easy to do that. Regardless, moving forward, you got Holy Priest, and Holy Priest got a buff recently to one of its honor talents, Miracle Worker. So Serenity is an instant cast heal for Holy Priests, and it basically heals the target to full health. You have 2 charges of it. Its cooldown is now reduced by 25% through an honor talent. And it had a ton of crazy utility thrown at it. It looks super fun and awesome. And I think for a long time, everybody was thinking, wow, Holy Priest is the thing. It's the next thing. And then it just isn't really. I think it's in a better spot now after this most recent honor talent change competitively. And again, this isn't about competition. This tier list isn't about competition, but I just wanted to sort of talk you through what's happening with it. If all the information that's been jumbled around throughout the beta is confusing you, it's a pretty straightforward healer. Unlike Discipline Priest, you don't need to really worry about doing damage. You can just focus solely on heal botting and sitting in the back. So if that's the type of healer that you want, where it has the option to go offense with Chastise Stun and spamming Smite to get Chastise Stun back, but in my mind, you don't have to do that. You can more or less just chill in the back, play with some caster DPS, and it's going to just be a heal and chill kind of specialization. Keep your renew up, get your Prayer of Mending going, use Serenity when in trouble. It's instant cast, easy to use. Spam heal or flash heal to recover, and just sit in the back line. So these types of healers that are like this, I think, are a lot easier to pick up if you're new. But if you want the skill pool, I think Discipline would be a better option for you. You still have the option of Mind Control like Discipline, but for me, I think Holy Priest is about C in terms of how easy it is to play, because you can have the option to just opt out all offense and only heal with this. So it's a bit easier if you can do that, obviously. So take it as you will. I will leave it with a caveat that while it is easy to play, it's not the strongest. I think you could make it work, but it's not the strongest in terms of the balancing. Balancing could shift. So, but gameplay wise, if you're looking for just that heal bot sit in the back, it will be pretty easy to pick up and go. Mistweaver Monk. This is a healer that was similar to the Holy Paladin, where you had big, powerful healing, not cooldown based, just powerful healing all of the time. And you needed to go in aggressively for Way of the Crane. But what's happened to Mistweaver is that they've taken Way of the Crane, they've made it baseline as a talent, doubled its cooldown, and reduced its healing. So they've deleted Way of the Crane in PvP for Mistweaver Monk, and your offense basically is roll, paralyze the healer, leg sweep, portal back, AFK, and heal. You're basically much like the Holy Priest, except stronger, more consistent, and heavy mobility is nice. And you've got this little instant crowd control chain that you need to be juggling about every 45 to 50 seconds. So as soon as you got that kit down, you're pretty much good to go on the Mistweaver. There's not really too much challenging out of that. Keep renewing Mist up as your heal over time effect. Make sure your statue is down, your Jade statue is down, and just spam some Soothing Mists and chill in the background. So for me, Mistweaver is pretty much like Holy Priest. It is stronger. Don't get me wrong, it is stronger than Holy Priest at the moment. So when I'm about to put it here on the tier list, don't conclude that, oh, these are the same power level. It has to do with their playstyle. For me, Mistweaver at the moment is much like Holy Priest, where you just want to sit in the back and spam heal. So if you want that heal bot playstyle, that is, in my opinion, easier to pull off. Then Mistweaver is going to be the pick. And it does have the option to go a little bit of offense with Paralyze and Leg Sweep. But if you want a healer with strong throughput and just that heal bot play style, then you're going to want to go with the Mistweaver Monk. And that's why I think that it's easier to play. Some of the difficulty you will run into this is getting locked down in stuns. So what you want to be doing is communicating with your team that I'm about to be attacked, or I'm feeling pressured, crowd control the people hitting me, so I don't die in a stun. And as long as your teammates are playing around that vulnerability of the specialization, you should have a good time with it. It's a well-rounded healer that can play basically melee cleave or caster cleave or in between. So it's a well-rounded healer, in my mind, pretty easy to pick up and straightforward. Now we've got Resto Druid. This is a healer similar to Mistweaver and Holy Priest, where you can just sit in the back and heal if you want to. Or you can run things like Feral Affinity, but with how high damage is at max level, or at least burst damage. But it's a little bit deceiving because a lot of it is trinkets. A lot of it is stuff that I'm not sure is going to get nerfed or not. But you can go in for Cyclones and crowd control. I think more likely is that you'll be running an Entangling Roots build. So Entangling Roots allows you to root a target in place, and they have now reduced the amount of damage, increased the amount of damage that a target can take while it's rooted or it's feared. So you can run Deep Roots as an honor talent, root a target, and it's basically pinned. And you can play with casters like Elemental Shamans, Warlocks, and Shadow Priests, load targets up with dots, root them in place, and you're going to be wanting to look to do this and just totally decimate teams as spellcaster healer for a Resto Druid. I think that Disciplined Priest will likely steal your thunder when it comes to healing comps like Rogue and Mage. It just brings more damage, more instant crowd control. I think where Druid is going to fit is with spellcaster cleaves and with this root fear spam while they're dotted and watch them die slow, painful deaths. And in that playstyle, you're going to be doing a little bit more than the Holy Priest or the Mistweaver. You do have the option to go Feral Affinity, but they just recently nerfed Master Shapeshifter. They basically deleted it, which is what enabled the Feral Affinity build. So I don't know if we will see that come back into play at max level. So like in the past, I said Druid's a really high skill cap healer, juggling between cat form, cloning, healing, cooldown management. It has the option to be that deep of a pool, but I'm not sure if you're going to go that deep into it. I think that it is more challenging because of the way that you have to cast heals susceptible to purge. You do have the advantage of bear form to fall back on. So if you're a healer who you kind of like choke under pressure, you can't handle that, you're getting attacked, Druid can be a good healer because you can go into bear form, play the Heart of the Wild talent with Guardian Affinity, and activate Frenzied Regen when you're in bear form and heal yourself to full without having to take too much risk. So in that regard, it's going to be one of the best. It's probably the easiest healer to play when you're being attacked in the pool. So if that's something that you're worried about, I would recommend Druid for that reason. But it does have a deep skill pool. It's just that skill pool is more optional, whereas for Disc Priest, you need to be doing damage and healing and managing all this at the same time to be effective. Druid for a long time has just not needed to clone, and I don't really see that changing too much, even though clone is baseline. I see it being more of a sit in the back, maintain your mana, heal the spellcasters. So I think it's going to be pretty easy. But because it has the option to go a little bit deeper, I don't want to be biased here, right? Because I play a Resto Druid. How easy do I think Druid is to play in Arena? I don't think that it's that hard. Is it the same as a Holy Paladin? Is it the same as a Holy Paladin? I've got the bias of the fact that I play it, so I perceive it as easier than somebody who has not played it, which is what I'm really trying to take into consideration before I put it on the board. In my mind, I'm bouncing between an A and a B plus. I think it is a bit more challenging than Holy Paladin, and it has the option to be more of a skill depth class than Holy Paladin. So I think it's fair to put it on A in terms of its overall difficulty. And next up, we've got Restoration Shaman. In Battle for Azeroth, I would have said that this is one of the easiest healers to play if you're being attacked. Probably the easiest healer if you're being attacked because of Azerite traits that provided your Ghost Wolf a lot of healing, and you just sat in Ghost Wolf, and Ghost Wolf healed you. Not really hard to pull off, but that's gone. But on the other hand, a lot of Restoration Shaman's healing at the moment is based off Riptide. You're likely running Necrolord Covenant, which is just going to grant you access to another charge of Riptide, which is just an instant heal, much the same as we were talking about with Serenity for the Holy Priest being a good mechanic to recover. You have ways to get around interrupts with Spirit Walker's Grace, providing you immunity to them through honor talents, but you've got Windshear on a very low cooldown. You're actually the only healer with an interrupt. So if you want that type of gameplay where cast bars are coming out and you're trying to stop them all, and that sounds cool to you and fun to you, and use your grounding totem to try and redirect spells, and you want to be very disruptive, then it's going to be a great healer. It's the only healer that has that as an option. But it again increases the skill cap because there's always something that you could have stopped. You could have pre-tremored something, you could have interrupted, pre-grounded, protected your partner from some sort of crowd control. This increases the skill cap and really is what makes Shaman hard. And then the healing portion of it is more or less just kind of spamming Riptide. You have big recovery cooldowns like a Holy Paladin with Ascendance, providing you just immediate heal yourself to full and start healing the whole team. And because you heal pretty easily with Riptide, I think that the difficulty of it comes down from that of a Disciplined Priest overall. So it's about a middle of the pack. It's harder than a Paladin, middle of the pack healer, has the deep skill pool option, but still has a couple of mechanics in it that make it a little bit easier to play for a newcomer because its healing is more based around instants, so you don't need to worry about it being interrupted as much. You do eventually need to cast, though. It's got cooldowns that require you to communicate with your teammates you may want to take into consideration. So things like Earthenwall Totem, you put it on the ground and you need your teammates to stand in it. So if you can't tell them to stand in it or they don't know to stand in it, that's going to get awkward. Spirit Link Totem can get kind of awkward too. I'm sure we've all had that moment if you've played a shaman or played with a shaman where someone's not in the link, you missed the link. So its cooldowns can get a little bit dicey in that regard, but it's also kind of the fun of it as well. It's just a unique healer in that sense with positional cooldowns and all of this disruption toolkit. It's very fun to play. I don't think that it is immediately easy though to go, and I don't think it's that heal bot healer where you're just sitting in the back spam healing, because you always want to be doing something with your grounding and your wind shear. So I think that does afford it a good spot here on the A tier in terms of its difficulty overall. And there we go. we've got the tier list on what I consider to be the easiest and most difficult healers. Of course, remember S being the most difficult, C being the easiest to play, and not based off of tuning. It's not based off of tuning at the moment. It's based off the kit, the mechanics of the class, how far can you push the skill ceiling of it, and how easy is it to just pick up and kind of start going with that. And this is my breakdown of it. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped you in trying to decide which healer you want to play moving into Shadowlands. If it did, again, please leave the video with a like. Subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content, as I'm uploading as frequently as possible to get all of this relevant information out to you so that we can all make the right choice when it comes to our gameplay when Shadowlands releases. And I will be updating this actively throughout the expansion. If you want to watch me play the game live, then you can at twitch.tv/Supatease. I'll have links to my social media down below if you're interested in following me on Instagram, Twitter, or Twitch. If you want to follow my weight loss journey, I lost 100 pounds, used to be 300 pounds, or some of my music. I play saxophone and I compose music. All that kind of stuff is on my other channels, and that will be in the description down below. Aside for that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.